Another cup of Maxwell House coffee, George?
Sure. Pour me a cup, Gracie.
You know, Maxwell House is always good to the last drop.
And that drop's good, too.
Yes, it's Maxwell House Coffee Time, starring George Burns and Gracie Allen. With yours truly, Bill Goodwin, the music of Meredith Wilson and his orchestra, our happy postman, and our special guest, the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer star, Clark Gable. For your Thursday night comedy enjoyment, it's George and Gracie. And for your everyday coffee drinking enjoyment, it's Maxwell House, expertly blended and radiant roasted for rich, mellow, extra flavor. Maxwell House, the coffee that's always good to the last drop. Well, this is the day, the showdown, the payoff. Today, Clark Gable and George Burns meet face to face to decide once and for all which will play the lead in the picture The Hucksters. Who will win? The man with good looks or the man with talent? Or will George win? This is the question the whole country is discussing today. Let's see what radio's top news commentators are saying.
There's weird news tonight. Yes, George Burns may replace Clark Gable. And buggy whip manufacturers are greatly encouraged. They say, if this can happen to the horse can replace the automobile.
Well, today, George Burns makes his final effort to gain a cinema career at the expense of Clark Gable. Well, this raises a particularly interesting question. Would it be better to keep Burns in radio where he is terrible or put him in pictures where he'd be horrible?
Naturally, this is also the subject of discussion as we look in at the Burns home.
See how this sounds, George. I just wrote it. Mr. Clark Gable, formerly of the movies, invites you to attend the opening of his used car lot at Figueroa.
Wait a minute. Clark Gable is opening a used car lot?
Well, he hasn't yet, but I'm just trying to be helpful. When you make this picture, the poor man will be out of a job.
I see.
Well, you didn't let me finish the announcement.
Oh.
His used car lot at Figueroa and Sunset. Come in and see Clark Gable, the smiling Indian.
Indian?
After he sees your performance, will his face be red?
Gracie, I haven't made the picture. You're counting the chickens before they hatch.
But, George, you're a natural for the Hucksters. It's all about radio, and you've been in radio for 15 years.
That's true.
Well, it's only fair that you hatch the chickens. For 15 years, you've been laying the groundwork.
Well, I don't think Clark Gable will have to run a used car lot.
Say, I've got a better idea. He can make it a used car lot during the day and a parking lot at night. He could put up a sign that would attract thousands of women.
What's that?
Park in the dark with Clark.
Gracie, I wouldn't worry about Clark if I were you.
George, I've got it. You're taking his place. Let him take yours and be a comedian.
Oh, stop.
Oh, he'd be very funny. Women are just dying for a chance to laugh at his mustache.
They are?
Oh, yes. I've heard lots of them say they'd love to be tickled by it.
Gracie, I'm the one to worry about, not Gable. I haven't got a chance in 10,000 to replace that guy. Here, look at the picture of me in this movie magazine.
Let's see it.
Look at Gable's face. How can I compete with those dimples?
Oh, pooh. 2 little round dimples. Look at your face. You've got dozens of nice long ones.
Look at those broad shoulders. He's got the kind of figure women are crazy about.
Not me. I'd much rather have your figure.
You would?
Sure. If I had his figure, I'd look like a man.
Thanks.
I'll answer it.
Good morning, Mrs. Burns. Here's your mail.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Postman. I'm so excited. This is the day George will meet Clark Gable.
Oh, I admire Mr. He and I are so similar. The same rugged, robust type. Two members of the Brotherhood of Brawn.
Well, don't you think George is a member of the Brotherhood of Brawn?
No, I'd say he belongs to the Fraternity of Flab.
Oh, Mr. Postman.
What's more, Mr. Gable is quite a woodsman. He goes into the North Woods and hunts moose. I wish he'd take my wife with him.
Why?
She'd make a wonderful decoy. She looks just like a moose.
No, it wouldn't work, Mr. Postman. No moose would take her for a moose.
I know, but some hunter might.
Well, I'm going over to see Clark Gable right now, and we'll just see who wins.
My money's on Gable. The public will always have a place in its heart for him.
Oh, and there's a place for George, too, a very warm place.
Yes, and he should go there. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Burns, and remember, keep smiling.
Oh, why did I ever leave Wyoming? Oh, tell me why, oh, why did I ever have to go? Oh, why did I ever leave Wyoming? 'Cause there's a sheriff back there looking for me high and low and high and low and high.
Wyoming. Well, that's a mighty nice tune about a mighty nice state, sung by Mr. Bill Goodwin.
Oh, please.
You really gave on that one, Curly. You really gave.
Well, Meredith, Western songs always send me. And after all, what's more Western than Wyoming? From Bighorn Basin in the Wind River Valley to Goshen Hole in the Cheyenne Plains, the cowboys are still riding hard and handsome. Yes, Wyoming's a mighty colorful and exciting part of the American scene. And you know that brings to mind how Maxwell House is truly a real part of the American scene, too. We Americans love coffee, have made it our national drink. And it's a fact that more people buy and enjoy Maxwell House than any other brand of coffee at any price. Northeast, south, and west, it's Maxwell House wherever you go. Flavor explains this nationwide preference, the rich, vigorous Maxwell House flavor that results from the skillful blending of these choice Highland-grown Latin American coffees. Manizales for mellowness. Medellins for richness. Other fine coffees for vigor. And Bucaramangas for full body. The sum of which is great coffee at its flavor peak. So why not enjoy the very best in mellow, satisfying coffee drinking pleasure? It's yours for just a fraction of a penny more per cup than you'd pay for the cheapest coffees sold. Just say Maxwell House. Always good to the last drop. We now find Gracie arriving at Clark Gable's house to tell him that he must relinquish the lead in the Hucksters to her husband, George Burns. Confident of success, she sings happily as she knocks on the door.
Lay back your rumba, your samba, your conga.
Yes?
Ay, ay, ay.
Won't you come in? I say, won't you come in?
In. Oh, of course. Oh, thank you.
Now, what did you want to see me about?
Well, you know, for the life of me, I can't remember. Oh, now I do. I want to talk to you about George Burns.
George Burns?
Yes, he's the man who's going to take your place in that picture, The Hucksters.
Oh, yes, yes. They told me about him at the studio. Mental case, isn't he?
Oh, no, I should say not. He's as smart as I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is he a friend of yours?
Well, we used to be friends. Then we got married. I mean, now he's my husband. And a wonderful man, Mr. Gable.
I'm sure he must be wonderful if he's married to you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Now, tell me more about Mr. Burns. I say, tell me more about Mr. Burns.
Burns? Oh, my husband. Well, he's the logical one to take your place because he's your type of man. Rugged yet handsome. An outdoor man. Loves to go hunting.
Oh, loves hunting, huh? Your husband begins to interest me.
Oh, I thought that would do it.
Where does he do most of his hunting?
Oh, he's hunted everywhere. India, Africa, Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah, the land of the Sphinx.
What did he shoot there?
Only the largest sphinx ever shot. Ever shoot a sphinx, Mr. Gable?
No, the meat's a little too gamey.
Oh, well, George hunts everywhere. He shoots a moose in Alaska, and then he knocks off a deer in Canada.
Oh, what's the matter with the game in this country? Hasn't he ever shot a buck in northern Michigan?
He played a little poker in Detroit. But he'd much rather hunt.
Well, I suppose he's concentrating on duck hunting right now.
Oh, yes. He's out every day shooting down ducks out there in wherever it is you shoot down ducks.
Blind?
Oh, no, he never touches the stuff. Just loves to hunt.
What kind of retriever does he use?
He uses...
What's his favorite dog?
Oh, hot. Heavy on the mustard.
No, I mean four-footed dog. What kind of dog does he use to retrieve the ducks?
Oh, one of those regular little duck dogs. A dachshund. They're awfully cute.
Yes, but a little impractical. Here, let me show you what I mean by a retriever. Here, girl. Isn't she beautiful? She's a Labrador retriever. Aren't you, Hetty?
Did you call her Hetty?
Oh, yes, that's a little whim of mine. I'm very fond of my hunting dogs, and I've named all of them after leading ladies in my pictures. I have two other prize retrievers named Lana and Claudette.
Oh, are they all girl dogs?
Well, I've found that females obey me better than males. They seem to like me better. Now watch now how Hetty reacts when I pat her head. Yeah. Nice.
I know just how you feel, Hetty. Oh, my goodness. What are those things in that room?
Where?
All those heads sticking through that wall.
Oh, those are my trophies. Now, this is a moose head. Here's a deer head, a lion's head. Here's a boar's head. Aren't they beautiful?
Yeah. But I'll bet the other side of the wall doesn't look so good. Well, so much for hunting. Now, I'd like you to meet George. I'm glad I had an opportunity to tell you about him. At least you know my husband isn't a mental case.
That's right. Now I'm curious to know why he isn't.
Well, we'll expect you at our house in half an hour. Goodbye, Mr. Gable.
Goodbye, Mrs. Burns.
Gee, Gracie, I can't compare with Gable. He's one of the greatest lovers on the screen.
Oh, I'm sure you can kiss better than he can. Kiss me, George.
Okay.
Oh, Gable's through.
He is?
Sure, you can kiss better than he can. And if he can't kiss better than that, he's through.
Gracie, Gable is dynamite with women. I've seen him in those pictures with Hedy Lamarr and Claudette Colbert and Lana Turner. I'll bet he's just as great off the screen. Oh, here he is now. I'll show him in.
I'll show him in. You show him up. Oh, hello, Mr. Gable. Come right in.
Thanks, Mrs. Burns.
Mr. Gable, I'd like you to meet Mr. Burns.
How do you do, Mr. Burns?
Hello.
I understand that your son wants to replace me in a picture.
My son?
No, Mr. Gable, this is my husband.
This is George?
Yeah. George Burns, the Clark Gable of tomorrow. Look him over and see if you don't think he's the perfect choice. Well, what do you say?
This is George?
Oh, I've already answered that question. Now, think for a minute and then tell me what your decision is. Well?
This is George?
Well, I don't know. You may be a good actor, but you're a very poor conversationalist.
Well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Burns, but I was taken unawares.
Oh, well, now you two men have a chat while I go in the kitchen and make some coffee. And then we'll sit down and thrash this all out.
You know, Mr. Gable, I'm embarrassed having my wife compare me with you. I think you're a terrific guy.
And I think your wife thinks you are, too.
Yeah.
No, I hope this discussion won't last too long. I've got to get home to Hetty and Lana and Claudette.
My wife and I were just talking about them. Are they all at your house?
Yes, they're waiting to be fed.
Feeding all three of them must run into money.
Oh, no. Horse meat's cheap.
You feed them horse meat?
Oh, sure. They love it.
Only from you, Clark. Are they in your house a lot of the time?
No, only in the daytime. I put them out at night.
Naturally, eh?
Well, poor things, it's quite pitiful when they sit outside my bedroom window and howl.
Yeah, that would break my heart.
But we spend many happy evenings together. Lana in my lap, Claudette stretched out at my feet, and Hetty sitting on the floor with her nose in my hand.
The affectionate type, huh?
Yes, they're all affectionate. At times, I have to beat them off.
Gee, imagine that.
You know, wherever I go, at least one of them trails along. The other night, I was having dinner at the Brown Derby. I looked down, and there was Claudette under the table.
Gosh, they follow you around like dogs.
Well, what do you expect?
That's what I expect. But, Clark, with three of them around at once, don't they get jealous of each other?
Oh, yes, terribly jealous. If I tickle one of them in the ribs, I have to tickle them all.
Wow.
But only once was there any serious trouble.
What caused it?
Well, they all take turns fetching my slippers. They regard it as quite a privilege.
You're murder. What happened?
Well, Lana fetched the slippers when it was supposed to be Hetty's turn. So Hetty sneaked up behind Lana and bit her.
Bit her?
Yeah. Poor Lana couldn't sit down for a week.
Oh, no!
Clark Gable is in the den.
Yeah?
He met George face to face, and he's green with envy.
Oh, Gracie, envy didn't turn him green. It's that face-to-face that did it.
Bill, that's not true, and you know it. George has a beautiful face. Every feature is perfect.
Perfect?
Certainly. He can see with his eyes, hear with his ears, and smell with his nose. Isn't that perfect?
Well, yeah, I'll admit George has got a point there.
What about that? What about that handsome, beautifully shaped head? He's got a point there, too.
Yes, I've noticed that. Must chop up his hats pretty badly. Well, come on, Gracie. I'm anxious to go in and talk to Clark.
Oh, now, Bill, look. George's whole career may depend upon that talk he's having with Gable. So promise me you won't change the subject to Maxwell House coffee.
I give you my word, Gracie. I won't bring up the subject of coffee unless Gable mentions Maxwell House himself.
Well, I don't think that'll happen. Let's go in.
Okay. Hi, George. Hello, Clark, old man.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Bill. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Oh, say, Clark, there's a beautiful blonde singer at your studio I'm dying to meet. Marilyn somebody?
Maxwell?
Yeah, that's the girl. Clark, would you take me to her house?
Sure, Bill. I'll take you there.
Where?
To her house.
Whose house?
Marilyn's.
Marilyn whose?
Marilyn Maxwell.
Marilyn Maxwell's what?
Marilyn Maxwell's house.
Speaking of Maxwell, that is the most wonderful coffee.
Oh, now, Bill, you promised.
Well, Clark brought it up. I didn't, Gracie. But since he did, let me remind you that Maxwell House is rich, mellow, delicious, the result of careful selection and blending of choice Latin American coffees, radiant roasted to perfection.
Bill, when do you want to meet the blonde?
Blonde? Oh, Clark, how can you talk about a blonde in the same breath with Maxwell House coffee? Why, Maxwell House is the very best in coffee drinking pleasure, yet it costs but a fraction of a penny more per cup than the cheapest coffee sold. Now let's take a breath and talk about the blonde.
I thought so.
What would you like to know about her, Bill?
Are you kidding? What does any guy want to know about a girl? Does she drink Maxwell House coffee? I hope so, because Maxwell House is bought and enjoyed by more people than any other brand of coffee at any price. Everybody knows Maxwell House is always good to the last drop. Well, nice to have seen you, Clark. So long.
Well, Bill, don't you want to meet the girl? Wouldn't you like to have a beautiful, blonde, curly head on your shoulder?
I was born with one. So long.
Well, Mr. Gable, let's get down to business. What's your decision? Will George get in the hucksters?
Of course he will. I'll see to it myself.
Wonderful.
Here's 50 cents for his ticket.
Now, I mean, will he make the picture? Will you recommend him for the lead?
Well, I hesitate to recommend George for pictures because of his past.
What's wrong with my past?
There's been so much of it.
Oh, come on, Mr. Gable. Be a sport. Give up your career. Won't you do this little favor for an ex-serviceman?
Oh, is George an ex-serviceman?
He certainly is. When President Roosevelt called for volunteers, George said, "Here I am, Teddy."
Yeah, I gave those Spaniards plenty of trouble.
Well, what do you say?
To tell the truth, the decision isn't mine to make. A thing like that is decided by the head of the studio.
Oh, in other words, if the head of Metro Golden Mare told you to step aside for George, you'd do it?
I'd have to.
I see. You boys excuse me for a moment. I'll be right back. Now, have you got it straight, Meredith?
Oh, I think so, Gracie. I'm to pose as the head of Mr. Gable's studio.
Right. Now, let's go in. Mr. Gable, there's someone here to see you.
Who is it?
Well, have you ever met Louis B. Mayer?
Oh, I know him quite well.
Oh. Well, have you ever met Mr. Goldwyn?
Many times.
Oh. How about Mr. Metro?
No, I've never met anyone by that name.
Uh-huh. Mr. Gable, shake hands with Mr. Metro. Mr. Pasternak, you Metro. Head of Metro Golden Mare.
How do you do?
Always happy to meet an employee, son. Now, as the young lady told you, my name is Pasternak U. Metro, and I'm afraid I have bad news for you.
You have?
Yes. Last evening, my assistant, L.B. Mayer, and I had a talk. L.B., I said, what do you think of George Burns for the Hucksters? P.U., he said. That's a great idea. terrific.
By the way, Meredith, I enjoyed your last concert at Hollywood Bowl.
Well, thanks, Clark. How'd you like my flute solo?
I thought it was great.
Did you? So did I. Of course, my lip isn't as strong as it used to be. Well, as I was saying, my name is Pasternak U. Metro.
That's enough, Meredith. You might as well go.
Well, very well. Glad to have been of help. Goodbye, all.
Gracie, I'm ashamed of you, pulling a thing like that on Clark Gable.
Yeah, you're right, George. That was an awful trick. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
Out to think of a better one.
Mr. Gable, I want you to know that none of this was my idea. For 6 weeks now, Gracie has hounded me into this.
Well, I can see that unless we stop her, neither of us will have any rest.
It's beyond me. I can't handle it.
Perhaps I can. You mind if I try?
No, go ahead.
Well, Mrs. Byrne, may I see you for a moment?
You won't get anywhere, Clark.
Leave it to me.
Yes?
Mrs. Burns, I've reconsidered. Your husband will have the lead in the Hucksters.
Oh, finally came to your senses, huh?
Yes, I'm through.
Oh, well, you'll find something to do. Open a little butcher shop. I realize a butcher's salary isn't the same as a movie star's salary, but you can use the extra money.
I don't mind for myself, but the new leading lady I discovered will lose her opportunity.
Well, that's the breaks. She'll get over it.
I searched for her for so long, but I didn't find the perfect one until now.
Well, that's life. Until now? You mean?
Yes, you would have been wonderful. But it's too late. I'm out of the picture.
Well, that's the breaks.
You have every quality the screen demands. Charm, intelligence, talent. But we both lost our chance.
Well, that's life.
What a leading lady you would have made. People would have said, how can one so young be so beautiful? But it will never happen now.
Well, that's a mess, isn't it?
We could have played some beautiful love scenes together. But why cry over spilt milk? I'm out, and George is in.
Oh, no, he's not.
Huh?
George Burns, if you ever open your big mouth about playing the lead in the Hucksters again, I'll leave you.
Me open my mouth?
Where did you ever get such a ridiculous idea?
It was my idea?
Claiming you'd be better than Clark Gable. Forgive him, Clark. He didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah, forgive me, Clark.
Okay, George. Goodbye.
Clark Gable appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of the Technicolor production, The Yearling. Join us again next week when we'll all be back. George Burns, Gracie Allen, Meredith Wilson and his orchestra, and yours truly, Bill Goodwin. The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show is written by Paul Henning and Keith Fowler. Until next Thursday, good night and good luck from the makers of Maxwell House, America's #1 preferred brand of coffee.
Well, Gracie, you're just like all the other women. The minute Clark Gable turned on his charm, you forgot your husband.
I did not forget my husband. You're still the only man for me, Harry.
Harry?
Fred? Joe?
My name is Pasternak U. Metro. Good night, everyone.
Good night to you.
And now stay tuned in for Noah Webster Says, which follows immediately over most of these stations.
Get Birdseye. Get Birdseye French-style green beans. Delicious young beans, as garden fresh as if you just picked them off the vine. Yes, wonderful eating. And trouble-free, all washed, trimmed, and cleaned for you. Stringless, too, and cut French style. One box serves 4 people. So get Birdseye French-style green beans tomorrow. But be sure it's Birdseye. Remember,
It can't be the same if it ain't got that name. Get Birdseye frozen foods.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.